Chapter 17. The Pen. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Sun Tzu, Chapter 3, Line 2. In January 2018, we first started to see images of a pen with no context other than a faint reverse image of notepaper belonging to the White House. See post 604. The same expensive Mont Blanc pen appeared again in drop number 1331 in May of the same year, again next to the notebook. The image was named DOJ Nunes Release.png. DOJ Nunes Release. Devin Nunes was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee at the time, as I've previously reported. See drop 1331. 4 days later, on May the 20th, Trump posted a message questioning the FBI and DOJ's involvement in Obama's spying campaign. He followed this up with an executive order to begin investigations after Republican Jim Jordan and others demanded the release of evidence. This was an early example of Q dropping the message, "Follow the pen." There were around 12 drops with the same hint. The first on May the 16th. It became clear that an image of a pen would suggest a new executive order. And here you can see the letter of May the 15th, 2018, signed Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan and Ron DeSantis. See drop 1381. Follow the pen. Already written ? Letters left visible to match. It hints in number 1381 that the EO may have already been written and states letters left visible to match in the DOJ Nunes Release.ping. A few letters are visible. The first set of letters looks to be RTIC, as in article, but it's hard to tell. The lower letter is obviously an A. It also contains a link to Jim Jordan's Twitter post of May the 16th, where Jim Jordan says it's high time for transparency. The DOJ and FBI have continually and repeatedly thwarted congressional oversight. We are asking Donald Trump to direct the Attorney General to give us the documents because the American people deserve answers. Look at post 1386 and 1424. The day before, we saw a Q drop with another picture of the pen sitting on the notepad. Underneath, you can clearly see a glimpse of POTUS's famous and never-changing signature. This time, the image was named FTP.png. Follow the pen. See post 1421. On July the 31st, Q dropped post number 1776 with a clear reference to George Washington for obvious reasons. It quoted John Adams, a founding father and the second US president. He said, "Without the pen of the author of common sense, the sword of Washington would have been raised in vain." See post 1776. Without the pen of the author of common sense, the sword of Washington would have been raised in vain. John Adams. So, without the pen of the author, what may this be referring to? The author of common sense. To me, very much hints at Trump's executive orders. How many times does he call his far-right decisions common sense? We all do. Well, those of us sitting just slightly to the right of far left. Yes, we are far right as much as they are far wrong. So, without Trump's handwritten signature with his own pen, the sword of Washington would have been raised in vain. So, without the handwritten signature with the author's pen, the authority of the president would be null and void. 2 words. Biden. Auto pen. Did they know back in 2018 that an auto pen would come into the picture? Seems so. Did John Adams and the other founding fathers know this back in 1776? You can bet your bottom dollar they did. The Constitution obviously foresaw a whole host of nefarious shenanigans. You can bet your bottom pound if you like, or you can bet your bottom euro. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. Like US rock songs mentioning towns and cities along Route 66, they all sound enigmatic, unlike a song by Joe Strummer from my favourite band, The Clash, who tried a title called The Ilminster Bypass. Anyway, during recent congressional hearings designed to shine a light on Biden's levels of compos mentis throughout his 4 years, several people in the know were called to testify, such as Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Biden's White House physician. He was asked fairly simple black or white questions about Biden's mental fitness whilst in office. O'Connor decided to plead the Fifth Amendment, meaning he didn't want to incriminate himself. Pleading the Fifth may, under certain circumstances, be a good idea. In other cases, not. As an example, if you didn't kill Elvis and you were asked, "Did you kill Elvis?" you would say no. If you can't say no and instead plead the Fifth to ensure you don't incriminate yourself, you would be incriminating yourself. Congressman Byron Donalds came right out with the fact that when a succession of people at the highest level, close to the president, avoided answering questions about his mental fitness, you can be sure he was not in charge of his administration. Therefore, he was not capable of complex decisions, and that every order, every bill, and every memorandum should be considered null and void. Next up to testify will be his wife, Dr. Jill, and Kamala Toe. It's going to be fun. Aside from that, and the auto pen, we have Biden's supposed real signature looking completely different to certified ones in the past. The auto pen, however, takes the biscuit. It was apparently used over 2,000 times. Many involved a clemency release of prisoners, God knows who and what they were in for, but we sure know they want them back on the streets, creating mayhem. We now know Biden wasn't even in the room or anywhere near it when the pen did its thing. Trump has a famous wall of presidents in the White House, all 47 of them, all in the same gold frames, the same size, hung chronologically from right to left. When you walk along the line, near to the end you see Obama's picture, then Trump, then Biden, then Trump again, all nice photographs of each president. Except when you look at Biden's picture, it's just an auto pen and a dodgy signature, no face. Priceless comedy. Somehow, many pardons were issued that were preemptive, i.e. they were pardons for charges and prosecutions that have yet to happen, just in case they do. Sounds like they know what's coming, doesn't it? Other pardons went back many years for things people may have done, but they didn't yet because there are no official accusations. These include Hunter Biden, who we know took charge of many pardonings covering gun possession, charges and fraud, but not the entire contents of his laptop, which was one massive evidence dump of sordidity. Anthony Fauci, gain-of-function boy and public poisoner number 1, preemptively pardoned back to 2014. Mark Milley, ex-chief of staff during Trump's first administration, as loyal as the snake in the poem, pardoned for anything he may have done. Anything? Then we have the members of the January the 6th House Unselect Committee, pardoned just in case they turn out to be proven as corrupt liars, for example. And of course other family members, James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, Francis W. Biden. Preemptive pardons, just in case they turn out to have accepted dirty money, for example. I've probably missed a few, and who knows what accusations may come their way. I was just giving some potential examples. They are, by now all shitting themselves, as the pardons are useless and they know it. This is the pain. This is where they dig themselves deeper with their cover-ups, where they prevent a statutory of limitations with continual denials and lies. Maybe a little white hat suggested the magic pen. The stings are endless. Now then, following the pen started to lead into another direction, another rabbit hole. Catherine Herridge is an American journalist specialising in national security, intelligence and investigative work. She worked for many years as chief intelligence correspondent for Fox News, then joined CBS News in late 2019 as a senior investigative correspondent. In February 2024, she was held in civil contempt by a US federal court for refusing to disclose the confidential source or sources that she used in 2017 reports about a potential Chinese spy. She stood firm, despite huge pressure, therefore proving herself to have the highest journalistic integrity. Her nickname is The Pen. She became a key reporter with a whole Crossfire Hurricane exposure and features in Q Drops 15 times, where Follow the Pen now clearly means her. See Drop 4598. For your information, Drop 3570 within 5498 mentions Coates. This is Dan Coates, Director of National Intelligence in Trump's first term, a deep state sleeper who obstructed investigations and declassification efforts. As a reminder, Grok or other AI will explain Q content these days, buttercups. Skipping ahead. Catherine Herridge became an independent reporter, a very rare find, and came back into my attention when it was announced she would be making several reports from Guantanamo Bay, the notorious military prison camp in Cuba. I was expecting some juicy stuff, so I subscribed. I paid because I wanted a front row seat to this. I thought there was something imminent happening. I thought the big roundup of deep state players was about to happen. I had already seen evidence of a lot of air traffic landing there thanks to MonkeyWorks US and his military-grade flight tracking software. Something was happening and I was ready with my popcorn. The disappointment came fairly quickly when she seemed to be a little over-concerned about a few jihadi prisoners who were there maybe for too long at too great an expense. A damp squib. Or so I thought. In the background to her report about costs, it became clear that massive expansions were taking place there. She talked of the overt secrecy and a lot of construction and upgrades to the facilities, and that probably linked to the increase in military planes. Over the last few years, Guantanamo has significantly expanded, including a new complex including new courtroom buildings, plus a 100-tent city for up to 500 people made from legal teams, media, administrative staff and security. There has been a proposed permanent compound to house up to 3 courtrooms, plus associated high-security holding areas and facilities for staging multiple simultaneous trials. They have added 156 individual housing units. No idea how many people per unit, seemingly not for detainees but for staff and legal teams such as lawyers and judges. Military judges? Military tribunals? Aside from the military detention centre already there, Trump has ordered the construction of a migrant operations centre to be expanded to full capacity to accommodate up to 30,000 migrants. Call me stupid, but I don't understand why illegal immigrants in the US need to be flown to Cuba and then to be tried in court at such expense. Surely, if they were illegal, they were illegal. Is it really for 30,000 migrants? There were up to 20 million illegal migrants in the US. It has been reported that 2 million have left already, with up to 168,000 formally deported. What would be so special about 30,000? I'm sure someone has an answer. However, Guantanamo Bay is certainly gearing up for something big. I had great difficulty in knowing when and how to start this book, and I thought I would have the same angst about when to end it. So much is going on so quickly. Everything continues to unfurl at pace, but for some reason the time is now. It just feels right, until subsequent editions become necessary. September the 23rd, 2025. This is my end date. Bar some tidying up and knocking out the final 2 chapters, it's going off to the publishers for editing, proofreading and printing. I have to stop somewhere, even though massive events are going to happen within days. If I don't stop now, I will forever play catch up. Are we going military down the sum of all fears route, or will this keep dripping to flood to storm until after the midterms next year? Either way, nothing can stop what is coming. Expect many false flags and lots of deception. Expect to question your faith and hope. Expect to feel that all is going wrong. But remember, this is often how it's supposed to seem. Nothing will be as it seems. Remember the need to fill the enemy with arrogance and watch them walk into the traps, shooting their own feet as they go. This is the art of war, the art of the deal. Remember the power of leverage. Don't fret when you see the enemy cozying up to the Trump administration. It's certainly not vice versa. Your Trump derangement syndrome still lurks there deep down. It's still desperate to prove you wrong, to point out alliances with the cabal. It is all leverage and pain, be it Big Pharma or Big Tech. They have all capitulated, along with the British establishment, along with Saudi Arabia and the rest. One massive sting operation is playing out. Enjoy the show, but buckle up. Here in the UK, we have just received POTUS on his 2nd official state visit, and how he was welcomed. The pomp and ceremony exceeded everything before it. The Guard of Honour parade involved 1,300 personnel and 120 horses overall escorting the carriage, creating an event of unprecedented scale. The military units involved in the ceremonial welcome on horseback included those from the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, consisting of the Life Guards and the Blues and Royals. The route was flanked by the Foot Guards of the British Army's Household Division in their stunning red tunics and bearskin hats, otherwise known as busbies. It was one hell of a sight, a ridiculously over-the-top performance for presidents that the British establishment clearly don't like. He is the complete opposite to them in all aspects. Why would they go this far? It was the largest Guard of Honour ever assembled for a UK state visit, and it included Grenadier Guards, Coldstream Guards and Scots Guards from the Household Division, forming the core of the Guard. These regiments are elite infantry units responsible for ceremonial duties at royal residences, and they came out in force. Historic. A total of 1,300 service personnel participated, with 160 from the Royal Marines and Royal Navy, 1,000 from the British Army, including the Guards regiments, and 140 from the Royal Air Force. Watching the procession advance towards the Sky, or Sly, news camera, with the bobbing of plumed helmets all out of sync due to each horse's unique gait and biomechanics, and the president behind, this reminded me of another image. In 2017, Trump was paraded by the Saudi elites, giving him the highest Guard of Honour, the sword dance ceremony, equally colourful and pompous, the gleaming swords jabbing up and down just like the horse guards' helmets. It was a grand and open gesture of capitulation, and so was this. The British would have never done this for Biden. In fact, he didn't have a state visit. Obama did, but it was pathetic in comparison. Obama, 41 gun salute, Trump 82. Obama 150 soldiers, Trump 1,300. The British elite were, by ceremony, capitulating to a higher authority. They even called it a ceremony to reset US/UK relations. As with 2017, Trump walked in front of the submissive monarch. Pottus and Flottus, work it out, were given a massive royal banquet hosted by King Sausage Fingers and all significant royals, plus tech industry bigwigs and all kinds of establishment hangers-on. During Trump's speech, he said that he welcomed his second visit but hoped he wouldn't have to do another. The king looked fidgety. My impression was that he was being told to fall in line. It must be horrible being sandwiched by Trump and the Rothschilds. More pain. It seemed that Mr. King tried a little fight back by hinting that their fight back against tyranny had Russia as their enemy. Pottus gave him quite a look at that point. At a news conference later in the visit, Trump continued to utterly crush Billy Big Pants Starmer. They were asked about the illegal immigration problem both countries shared. Trump responded that they were simply deporting and dealing with it in very large numbers. This left Starmer trying to explain how proud he was that he could confirm that on that very day they had a plane taking off to deport the first illegal, as part of their war against the problem. Yes, he said the first. Not first plane load, but the first. He actually had to face the press and say how proud he was of deporting a single person. One. Stop press! Stop press! Sorry, I simply have to add this in. That one deportee has now re-entered Britain, illegally on a dinghy. Further, the illegal who sexually assaulted a child in Epping has been accidentally released from prison in their feverish haste to release criminals and make room for us, no doubt. And he has disappeared. We also find out that the UK government are running courses on how to spot a terrorist. It identifies an extreme far-right terrorist as one who is of the view that Western culture is under threat from mass migration and a lack of integration by certain ethnic and cultural groups. So most of us are now terrorists. Carry on. You just can't make this shit up. I don't know what's more amusing, watching him squirm or watching how the press manages to completely ignore such newsworthy golden nuggets. I wonder what Thomas Mackintosh of the BBC wrote or had written for him. Luckily, we have Bev Turner from GB News seemingly well in at Team Trump and asking the right questions. I mention her because she promoted my first book, Red Pilling in a Clown World, and posted a picture of it on her bed, of all places. Anyway, back to the point. The big ceremony ended on the lawn of Windsor Castle, with an elite military band parade in front of a large assembly of the British establishment. Naturally, they played all the typical pomp tunes, including the Star-Spangled Banner, while marching in all kinds of precision patterns. Then came the most wonderful of sights, and, in my opinion, one great big com. In one big gesture of capitulation, they marched around like clockwork toys playing the song YMCA by the Village People, as the jets of the Red Arrows swooped overhead with their red, white and blue trails. Trump loved it, and was seen mouthing the words and giving it a little dance. Everyone seemed somewhat bemused. YMCA is the song played at the end of just about every public rally Trump has held. He also sometimes finished with Nessun Dorma, which we know to be a song of victory. But why YMCA? It's a gay anthem, isn't it? Hardly the stuff of MAGA, of the Trump supporters, where men are men and the girls are chicks. Not that Trump would have an issue with your normal common or garden gays, but it's really not the choice you would expect. Everyone knows it's the gay song. Its lyrics have fuck all to do with anything other than young men hanging out with all the boys. It's 100% gay. Yet Trump comes out dancing to it with great enthusiasm. Why does he play that? Why did he get the British establishment to play that? I guess I'll never know.